I think that everybody should feel empowered to either code or use logic, I'll say, not necessarily like coding hands-on, but maybe drag and drop, so that they can do what they need to do.
Charlene, welcome very much to the IFA 2023 live podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastically, thank you. It's been great.
And how have you found Berlin so far?
It's been really good. So I've actually been to Berlin a few times before. So I thought I'd get in early yesterday. I flew in yesterday, got in, thought I'd go sightseeing, do loads of things. I actually just sat in my room and watched TV and had room service. But it's been fantastic.
But that's a holiday in itself, right?
Exactly.
You don't have room service at home unless you're like a multi-billionaire.
I need to become a multi-billionaire.
Well, that's what we were all for, that or the robot revolution. Mm-hmm. So we have little robots bringing us like a nice croissant and like an omelette in the morning.
That would be perfect.
So for the people who might not know you and your background, could you give us a little introduction to yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Charlene Hunter. I'm the founder and CEO of an organisation called Coding Black Females. So we started out as a tech community, really just trying to bring Black women in tech together. What's happened over the last six years, we started now, 6 years, is we're more than just a community. We're a community providing loads and loads of fantastic opportunities. So we run events, we do recruitment, we run mentor programs, we do training and boot camps as well, all with the focus of seeing more Black women in tech and progressing through the industry as well.
So what is the state of coding and learning programming languages, whether it's in the UK or globally? Where do you think we're at if we compare to something like literacy or numeracy?
It's interesting. So when I was looking to get into coding, so I wasn't really looking to get into coding, I've always been in it, right? But it was very traditional, so you had to go to university and do computer science or something tech related, and then you'd move into a tech role, and that's how it always seemed to be. This is all changing so much at the moment. Now we're seeing people who can go online. There's obviously so many resources online that you can just learn to code. You can do coding boot camps. You can just pick things up by meeting people and attending events and so on, and then enter the industry. And that's something that we're seeing change. So when we look at other subjects, obviously they're standard in curriculum now, right? That you'll go and you'll learn English at school or whatever language it may be, maths and so on. But now they're also adding in coding. So we see a lot of young people who are learning Python, they're learning Scratch, they're understanding logic, they're understanding how to build systems and applications, which is a real change that we're seeing, meaning that in, say, 10 years' time, at the moment we're struggling to find people with the right skills. I think in 10 years' time, we will see a lot of that change because we're building it in from a much earlier age now.
In terms of like coding languages, I think one of the things is about that is they're constantly changing, so over 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
So would you think that the best way to teach it in schools is to teach a straight language like Python, or more, as you were kind of talking about, more the logic behind coding? Like, can you teach those things separately?
I think it's important to learn both. So my background is maths, and then I did computer science. So I've always loved maths, but I've also enjoyed coding my whole life. And the maths has really helped with the logic elements. It helped me to learn to code, I would say, as well. And then learning computer science meant that I had a language that kind of sat on top of that. But knowing a language well meant that when I was transferring between languages, it became a lot easier. So I would say that you actually need both of them side by side to understand how logic works, how you would write code just in English, just with words, and then you can add languages on top of that.
And then how about getting the equipment to the right places? Because of course in the UK there is a great disparity in terms of different parts of the country and the different access to computers. Because I guess that's the thing with a book, quite cheap to get hold of a copy of Mice and Men or a Romeo and Juliet, but maybe a little bit harder to get a laptop or a computer in the hands of someone from Barnsley compared to someone who's growing up in Primrose Hill.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think that the equipment is a really key element. I mentioned that I've always been coding, and when I was a kid, there was a BBC Microsystems computer in the room, and I found it and I started coding on it. That's obviously very different now in that a lot of schools do have access to more computers. You see schools that have Raspberry Pis, they have laptops and so on. So they're accessible within the schools. What we need to make sure of is that there's not that like digital poverty that you can see in society. So a lot of organizations, when they finish with their computers after 3 years, they're looking at how they can then distribute those to people who may be more deprived or maybe, need that equipment. We also have companies like Raspberry Pi who make essentially very cheap and accessible computers for people, and they're distributing those across the country as well. So even though they're not you're not getting the highest powered computer, it's something that you can actually still use to learn to code as well. And it's important that people know, okay, when we have these opportunities, let's find a way to get those distributed as well across the country.
Yeah, and to be honest, giving school kids anything more powerful than a Raspberry Pi is a...
Might be a bit dangerous anyway.
Yeah, it's just like saying, okay, what's the best, how can I install Fortnite on it?
And they will just install Fortnite.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think there's nothing more ingenious in the world than a teenager looking not to work using a computer.
But it's really good to see, and I love the fact that they're able to do that, because what you'll find is that when they have a lot of these games, they are building things. They're actually using a lot of logic. They're coding as well whilst they're doing it. They just don't know that's what they're doing sometimes.
And have you found the enthusiasm for that amongst young people is there, or is this coding seen more as kind of maths a little bit, where it's just like, I don't want to.
I think it's there if it's sold to them in the right way. So if you say to some kids, learn Python because one day you'll be able to build really good applications, they're probably not going to want to do it. But if you give young people a game and you're like, if you do some coding, I've never played these games before, but if you do some coding, you can build a block in Minecraft, yeah. It's a game. Okay, great, I know it. Yeah, you can build a block in Minecraft and it will move over here. Like that, they'll actually engage with that because they're developing their game. They might be able to sell something in the game that they've coded. And I think it's about how you sell it in. When we do talks within schools, we talk about, the fact that you can build something, you can build a game, but also you can earn a really good salary from it at the end, that sort of thing. And that's encouraging. Whereas if you just go in and say, learn Python because Python is going to be needed in your future, they're not necessarily going to engage. So I think it's all about how you sell it in.
And then what about, moving kind of further away from schools into, say, more adult education and people who are looking to transfer or pivot a little bit? Because if we look at things like the rise of artificial intelligence, there's a chance that in the next 10 to 20 years we're going to see a huge shift over some manual jobs. So let's say like truck driving or something that is not too hard to be replaced by automated vehicles. Is there like a certain pathway that needs to be installed for helping people moving there? Is coding potentially an avenue for that?
I mean, coding, in my opinion, just in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinions, coding kind of needs to be everywhere, right? So what we're looking at is, we do a lot of training, as I said, and what we tend to do is adapt to where the industry is as and when we need to. So at the moment, we're seeing a much higher demand from organizations who want people to know Python. Because of data science, because of data analytics, because of AI, you have to learn that as well. So we're trying to make sure that people understand, okay, Python is something that will get you to a place where you can be involved in that revolution around AI, around machine learning and everything. And we're seeing that people are taking it up and then they're getting those roles as well. So it's really important to understand where we're going, and Python's a very good way to get there. But it's not just Python. What we're seeing is a lot of the cloud providers as well. They're providing platforms that will do the machine learning or the training for you and so on, meaning that it's really important that you also understand how all of that works as well.
And then what role does the government have to play in something like this, in accelerating this shift and ensuring that more and more people can learn how to code, compared to organizations like your own or private companies that are, looking, where's the rough balance there? What needs to happen?
So the government's actually, from what I can see, the government is doing quite a lot at the moment. So there's a lot of, you'll see the increase in the amount of skills boot camps that people are providing and delivering at the moment. So a skills boot camp is like a 16-week course where you can learn digital skills, and at the end, people get supported into employment. So that's something that we're delivering at the moment as well. And they're kind of giving us direction about where they want us to go. So whilst we're saying, okay, yeah, great, let's get everyone to learn Java, they might say to us, actually, can you also focus on Python because of AI, because of machine learning, because we want to make sure the UK is set up in the right way to compete with the rest of the world, as they're developing as well. So with that, it means that we're directed to make sure that we're building the right applications, building the right programs for people, but they're then funding it and making sure that we can have what we need, the resources we need to create the right people for society.
And if you were, put on a nice little wizard's hat and could predict the future in 5 to 10 years of what it would ideally look like for you, how would coding sit in society?
Coding would just be something that was second nature to everybody, and it's already happening. So a lot of organizations, what they're looking at is they're saying, okay, we don't just want to have a development team, we want to empower people who work across the business to know how to build what they need to deliver what they do in their job. So I think that everybody should feel empowered to either code or use logic, I'll say, not necessarily like coding hands-on, but maybe drag and drop, so that they can do what they need to do more efficiently in the business. And that's what I think we're moving towards. That's what I'm seeing at the moment, is that everybody is becoming more empowered by technology. And ideally, you want that to be the case, right? You want everyone to know, okay, let me see how I can use tech to deliver what I have to do. And we're seeing that happen already.
And one last question, because I can't resist. If I wanted to learn how to code, what should I do it and where and how?
I get that question a lot.
Yeah, I would assume so. So this is like hopefully a nice low ball for you to knock out the park at the end.
So we tell everyone to learn either Python or JavaScript. Python will enable you to get involved in data analytics, data science, machine learning, and AI, that sort of thing. JavaScript, that's going to help you with front-end applications, but also back-end. In fact, you can build a full-stack application now with JavaScript. So you'll be supported in both areas if you need to learn either of those. We tend to send people to online courses first. Mm-hmm. So there's some great resources like Code Academy, Free Code Camp, where you can go train for free and get certified. And then once you've done all that learning, you can then move on to a boot camp or into other education as well.
Well, Charlene, thank you very much. It was an absolute delight speaking to you. And next time we meet, I'm going to be like coding away.
I know, you're going to be coding away, building all your AI stuff.
Yeah, I won't be doing this. I'll have an AI version of me doing all the interviews, and then I'll be at home with my robot butler coming in.
Perfect. I want that life too.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.